y'all, it's Monday, which means that it is fertilizer day for the garden. I've already gone through and I have fertilized everything with the Jack's Classic. If you've been following me and listening to my videos, then you know that I rotate every week on what I fertilize with and that I fertilize every Monday. Every Monday I either fertilize with the Jack's Classic or the fish emulsion. I went ahead and fertilized the entire garden without you guys today since I've already done those videos. I also suffer from severe heart palpitations and I have been having them so bad. I think it's because of the insane humidity that we've been having the last few days, and the temperatures have been into the 90s. So as the summer progresses, you'll see me start breathing heavier and I have to take a break between talking. And so that's just what's going on, is that I have heart palpitations. But the next task that we are going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to look for squash bugs. As I was fertilizing, I realized that I have some squash bug eggs that are laid on the squash plants, and I also have some things that need to be picked. Today is going to be a little bit of a smaller harvest than you'll typically see in my videos. When plants first start producing, you're going to get like the one squash today, none tomorrow, 3 the next day, none the next day. So don't get discouraged if you're seeing people with big old baskets full of squash and you are only picking one. Your time will come where you're picking 8 to 10. And actually I have about 15 sitting on my stove right now. So the garden's actually, even though it's only producing the couple a day, it's producing more than we can eat. So we're going to have to preserve those in the next couple days as well. So let's go ahead and run through how I get rid of squash bugs here. And we will then do a harvest video for y'all. So there are 2 ways that I combat squash bugs here in my garden, and one of those is a mason jar with soapy water. I just put a little bit of Dawn dish soap or Palmolive or whatever you use into the jar and then fill it halfway with water. And what you're going to do is you're just going to go through and you're going to find the squash bug, pick them off, and dip them into the water. Sometimes if I'm out here and I don't have the warm soapy water, I go ahead and squish them between my fingers. The other thing that you're going to want to do, and this is actually probably more important than picking the squash bugs off, is you're going to want to get some duct tape. Mine looks a little bit rough because my Great Pyrenees puppies decided that this was a chew toy a few days ago. But you're just going to take a piece of duct tape and you're going to roll it off, and you're going to use the sticky to go through, and you're going to find the squash bug eggs, because those squash bug eggs you do not want to hatch in your garden. Once I've collected all the eggs on the tape, I just take the tape, put it inside a Ziploc bag, and then throw it into your garbage can. The reason that I put it into the Ziploc bag is those eggs will eventually hatch, and you don't want them crawling out of your garbage can and back to your garden. So it's best to put them inside a Ziploc bag so that they do not hatch and still come back to your garden. Another really fun thing that you can do to get your kids involved in the garden, and sometimes I actually use this as well just because it's so simple, is a bug vacuum. You can find one of these on Amazon, and I'll actually put a link in the bottom to this one, but it's rechargeable, so it doesn't take any batteries. So once the kids are done with it, I just take it back inside every day and recharge it. But it's just a bug vacuum, and you can go through and your kids can suck up the squash bugs that they see. But that's a really fun way to get your kids involved in the garden, is this squash bug vacuum. My little boy loves coming to the garden and helping me suck up the squash bugs. Then once I have them inside of this, you just take this off and I dump it into the cup of soapy water. That way it gets rid of them as well. But let's go through and we will pick up some squash bugs, and I will show you how I pick off the eggs as well. And I actually see a squash bug while I'm sitting here talking to you guys. There he sits as our first victim. And then, like I said, I just dump him down into the soapy water. Let's buy 2 more. And if you've never seen a squash bug before, this is what they look like. And basically they will just go through and mark up all of your fruit, and it will not produce a nice, pretty fruit for you. And they will eventually kill your plants if you get too bad of an infestation. Last year I planted Seminole squash or Seminole pumpkins and birdhouse gourds in my beds, and I swear to you guys that those attracted so many squash bugs. I have never had a squash bug infestation until I planted those in my gardens. And so this year I made the decision that those were not going to be planted in my garden, and I planted them actually off into the woods so that they could attract the squash bugs to the woods instead of my garden. And I've had a lot less squash bugs this year than I have had last year. And honestly, before I had never had an infestation. So it was either the birdhouse gourds because I planted them in like the same area, or the Seminole pumpkins. I'm not exactly sure which one to blame it on. So they both got pushed to a different garden this year. I don't see any more actual bugs just kind of grazing over. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to get the eggs off. So the duct tape method is really simple. This duct tape's a little bit older, so it's not as sticky. And then of course my dogs chewed holes in it, but you just rip off a piece of duct tape. I do the where you put all the sticky sides out, and then let me find a leaf with some good bugs on it, or some good eggs on it, not bugs. Okay, so I'm not sure if y'all can see this from the video, but the squash bugs will lay eggs on the top of the leaves and the bottom of the leaves, but you just take your duct tape and you take the sticky side. Sometimes it takes you a couple sticks to get all of the eggs, but you just stick it, and then all of the eggs end up on your duct tape. So then what I do is I roll this up, like I said, and I stick it inside a Ziploc bag once I've gone around and collected all the squash bug eggs. And I saw another one. There's another one right here. This one laid on the top and the bottom of the leaf. And they are really stuck. And I don't think I see any more right here. This is a variegated leaf, so do not think that I have powdery mildew. This type of, it's a golden zucchini, and they have variegated leaves, so it's going to have the white marks on the leaves. But as you can see, there's the squash bug eggs. And just, like I said, you just stick it a couple times, and now all the squash bugs are gone. You will occasionally find squash bug eggs on something besides squash. Like this is actually a garlic leaf, and there are squash bug eggs on it as well. So if you have anything planted next to your squash, you might want to check it as well. And then there's some right here. They like really came out last night. I haven't really seen this. I've like picked a couple little pods of eggs, I guess is what you would call it, off. I haven't seen this many all year, so they're really starting to move. They must like the humidity and the heat more than me. Okay, I think I'm done with the zucchini bed. Oh, I found one more set. I'm gonna roll this one up and go get a new set of tape. They don't seem to like my squash as much as they like my zucchini, and that is like crazy to me. I really haven't even pulled that many bugs off of over here. And then, like I said, I don't even see that any eggs, I don't think. So for some reason, they really like my zucchini bed. And that actually isn't even the bed that was so infested last year. It was this bed because I had the trellis right here. Oh, I found a squash bug. All I had to do was talk about them. There he is, and I left my cup of water way over there, so I'm just going to squish him. Oh, there's another. All I had to do was talk about them, and they showed up. How easy was that? Oh, these are like all spread out. Usually they'll lay in like little clusters. This one kind of laid all over the bottom of the leaf. And I don't walk through and like turn up every leaf and look. I just kind of look across the top of them. And then if the bottom of them happens to catch my eye with some, because usually you'll be able to see it from the top too, then of course I'll Look at the bottom of the leaf. You know, just when you say they aren't, they are. I should know better. Should probably go knock on some wood. Okay. That's all that I see for today. Following me, you know that I don't like neem oil. A lot of people will use neem oil as a preventative to deter the squash bugs. I'm not a fan. No matter how late in the afternoon I have sprayed it or how weak I have diluted it, it always burns my squash and tomato leaves. So last year in the middle of the season, I threw it all away and started researching alternatives to neem oil. I use BT spray for the caterpillars, and then if the BT spray doesn't work, then I step up to spinosad. I also use spinosad for the squash bugs. Like when I had the infestation last year, I used spinosad and pyrethrin. Those are both approved for organic gardening and farming. So I felt like they were okay to use. And I only use them, of course, if I have an infestation. Like for the couple that are in here, I wouldn't spray anything. I think hand picking is always going to be your best bet for small populations of squash bugs, and their eggs, of course, are really easy to get rid of. And as I'm sitting here talking, I found another set. So it's always nice to just kind of keep the cup of water and the tape out here with you, because as you walk around, you're going to probably notice ones that you wouldn't have typically noticed if you're just hunting down squash bugs and their eggs. I think that my favorite thing of all time to grow is always squash and zucchini, and I actually thought this one was ready, but I'm going to leave it on to tomorrow, and then it's going to be way too big. But anyway, because if you know, zucchini, you're like, okay, it's not ready to pick today, and then tomorrow it's giant. But last year I planted these golden zucchini for the first time, and we absolutely loved them. They're not going to be as heavy of a producer as the Black Beauty zucchini, but they still produce enough. If you are planting zucchini just to eat fresh and you're not going to preserve it, you probably only need 2 to 3 plants. Zucchini are heavy producers. All squash to me are heavy producers. And if we were just going to be eating this fresh every day, then I would only probably have 4 plants of squash and zucchini. But because I decide to freeze it or can it, then of course I plant more so that we have it throughout the year, because we're trying to grow all of the vegetables, meat that we eat throughout the year. This golden zucchini, like I said, is not as heavy as a producer as the Black Beauty zucchini, and I'll kind of take you through and show you everything in my kitchen that I have harvested since Thursday. And because I haven't cooked any of it this weekend, because we try and eat all of our leftovers for the meals that are at home, and we go out to eat on Friday and Saturday, especially this weekend because we had some events for some people. So there are no golden zucchini to harvest today. The next variety that I have planted is the Black Beauty, and like I said, Black Beauty is a heavy producer. I bet I've already gotten, it just started producing, like I collected my first basket of produce last week, and I think I've probably already gotten 10 Black Beauty zucchini off of 3 plants. I only plant 3 plants of each variety. I have 9 zucchini plants, so the amount of zucchini that I get is way more than we can ever eat. And I do give some away, but the point of me growing my garden isn't necessarily to give it away. It is to harvest it. So here's one zucchini. This one plant in the middle keeps giving me like weird shaped fruit, and I'll show you what I mean. Let me get my basket. My daughter helped me yesterday, and our typical harvest basket has gone missing. So I'm going to assume that she has it somewhere. But yeah, this one keeps giving me weird shaped fruit. And I would say that that's like a watering issue, except for all of the other plants are giving me normal fruit. So yeah, that's a Black Beauty zucchini. And then I guess there's just one. This other one's too small. I guess I'm going to go through and make zucchini bread in the next couple of days, because I have literally harvested so much zucchini. Hey, buddy. But I accidentally left that one on a little bit longer. My husband likes for me to pick them when they're probably the size of this one right now, but I'm not going to pick that one because we have so many inside. But he likes for you to pick them when they're like about that big, because he likes for them to be very tender, and he likes for them to have 0 seeds in them. So we probably actually, like as it starts ramping up and producing a lot, we probably pick them a lot sooner than most people do. The next ones that I have planted are Cocozelle, and I've been really disappointed in this variety. Everybody rant and raved about the Cocozelle, and like I've only picked one. One of my plants is not growing as rapid. Like I have one plant that is big. The other one is tiny, and the other one died off. Like I'm not impressed with the Cocozelle, but I'll keep y'all updated as I go through the season if it starts to impress me more. Like I said, so my heavy producers are going to be the Black Beauty, and then I have the Golden Zucchini, which I plant because we liked the taste, and maybe the Cocozelle will be a late producer and will impress me more than it has right now. These are the lemon squash. Oh, and I found some more squash eggs. Oh my goodness. Hold on. That is exactly what I'm talking about. You should always keep, and now I've lost where it was. You should always keep the roll of duct tape on you because you might find squash buckets. Well, maybe it'll reappear while I'm under here. This is the lemon squash that I planted for the first time this year. It came from Baker Creek. I haven't gotten to harvest any off of it yet. They're a little bit behind. My squash are a little bit behind my zucchini for whatever reason. They were all started at the same time. But so I'll let you know if we like those. They look like they're going to be heavy producers though. They have a lot of fruit on them and a lot of pollinated fruit on them. This next one is going to be my straight neck squash, and I don't think there's any straight neck squash to harvest today. Straight neck squash is always a heavy producer. I like it more than the typical crook neck squash that people plant, but I still plant crook neck squash, and I have them planted over in my tomato garden. This next one is my yellow patty pan, and there's 3 or 4 that are coming along on here, but they're not ready to pick. And then the next one is going to be my white scallop, and there is one that is actually ready, I think. I might be disappointed when I get it in, but I love collecting the patty pan squash. So last year was my first year trying the patty pan squash, and I had never had them before. I've never even seen these in a grocery store around here, but they're so cute. This one looks like a little octopus, and my kids loved growing these and eating them. It's hard to get my kids to eat many vegetables. They do eat some vegetables, so the patty pan were really cool. So I grow the white and the yellow varieties of these. This one's super cute because it looks like an octopus. Some of them my kids say look like UFOs. So it's just a fun way to get your kid to eat a vegetable. They're not super heavy producers in my opinion, but like I said, they're just cute. I don't really preserve the patty pans. I preserve the crook necks and the straight necks. This is actually my first time harvesting any cucumbers this season. This is a little leaf pickling cucumber. It's not quite ready yet, but the national pickling cucumber that is on the other side has 2 fruits on this side that are ready for me to pick. I only grow pickling cucumbers because I love to make pickles, and my family probably eats a whole jar of them every day. So the only pickles that you will see here that I grow are the pickling cucumbers, but of course there are pickling and slicing cucumbers. If you're into pickling, highly suggest making sure that the pickles that you're growing are pickling cucumbers, as they have a thicker, a denser meat on the inside, so that when you're making pickles, they don't become soggy and squishy. A lot of times when you hear people making homemade pickles, they're like, oh my goodness, we don't really like them. They're so squishy. And that's because they probably used a slicing cucumber instead of a pickling cucumber that has the ridges and the bumps on the outside. That's a denser product so that it doesn't break down when you're canning it. I also grow the shorter little varieties because we like those better. I think it's the Parisian pickling that I have on the other trellis. They'll actually be a lot smaller than these, and I think the little leaf is a smaller, more gherkin style pickle as well. I've actually never grown any of these varieties before. I've always grown the Boston pickling cucumber, but for the last 2 years it hasn't done as well for me, so I decided to switch it up and grow some different varieties this year to figure out which one produces better in my climate and my area. I think that that's all that I have to harvest today. Like I said, it's not a huge harvest yet because the tomatoes aren't producing. The squash are just starting to produce. I have okra that'll start producing soon, and then this is my first time collecting cucumbers. Peppers are usually way farther behind, and so are eggplant. this enough to have a huge harvest haul? Absolutely not. Will this feed my family of 5 tonight for dinner? Absolutely, and we'll probably have some left. So remember, you don't have to grow a huge garden and have baskets full of produce unless you're doing it to give away and to sell at a farmer's market. If you're doing this just to feed your family, you only need a few plants. And then I just grow a few extra so that I can preserve some for when we want to eat squash in the off months. So that is all that I have to show you guys for today. I'm going to go inside before it gets too humid and too hot out here and my heart palpitations start ramping up. It is that time of year, and if you struggle with heart palpitations, then you understand what I'm dealing with. The humidity is just killer out here the last few days, and I think it's supposed to be like into the 95, which is crazy to me because we're still in the beginning of May. I'm not ready, but welcome to Florida. So like I said, if y'all have questions, comments, something you want to see in another video, just let me know. You can follow me on TikTok. I'm not posting over there as much as I once was. You can follow me on our Facebook page, which is Ellie's Hen House, and you can follow me on Instagram. I'm mainly focusing on our YouTube now, so drop any comments and let me know what you want to see next, and I will probably be back tomorrow because I had no idea where I was going to take this channel when I first started it, but every morning I wake up and God tells me what I am supposed to show you guys next. So I hope that y'all have a fabulous day, and I am going to go inside and get me a water.